What's going on, everybody? Spencer Schultz, night 2 of Ravens Steelers playoffs week. The third matchup between these teams going live every single night this week. We will be giving away 2 tickets to the Ravens Steelers game free. All you need to do, subscribe to this channel. You need to send in a video of any sort saying why you think the Ravens will beat the Steelers, and use the hashtag E52 giveaway. Subscribe to the channel, post a video saying why, tweet it, and then hashtag E52 giveaway to make sure that we see it. So with that in mind, we get some injury reports. You do, JJ, got to send that video in. If you want some free tickets, we'll be giving away 2 tickets. Gonna have a lot of commentary here. Not going to be on terribly long, maybe cool 20, 30 minutes, something like that. But again, wanted to go live every night. This is what we've been waiting for. We've been waiting for the playoffs all year long since last year. Sports Guru says, just rewatch the Steelers game. The Steelers aren't good. We trolled the whole game, and that was the Steelers at full strength. They weren't at full strength in that game. No Pickens and no Joey Porter Jr. for a lot of that game. No Deshaun Elliott for a lot of that game. But both teams relatively at full strength, except for Zay Flowers. And we have Bernsey here mentioning, did you see Kyle Van Noy talking about Zay playing? Do you think it's a hoax? So wanted to talk about Rashod Bateman a little bit, but Zay Flowers, of course, the injury report comes out today. He's wearing a little brace on his knee. All the reports coming out of the locker room, which is interesting because that we know that this was like a, real injury, right? Pardon me, Sports Guru. Yeah, that the Steelers are awful in that game, and they were at full strength. Yeah, the other one was week 15. So with that in mind, it's interesting because Rashod Bateman had his foot in a boot prior to the second Ravens Steelers game, and it seems like there maybe was a little bit of gamesmanship there, perhaps. And by gamesmanship, I mean my hair is going crazy. Gamesmanship being the Ravens maybe playing a little cat and mouse, a little chess there. Rashod Bateman ends up scoring a touchdown in that game. Doesn't make a crazy impact, but ended up playing. Bateman shredded. Yeah, J.J. Sanders, he did. They were awful. So Bateman ends up playing. However, we know that Flowers has a real injury. We watched it, and we just watched Hard Knocks and saw Zay Flowers groaning in pain, the injury report, all of the different reports. Talked about it a little bit yesterday. Sounds like Flowers probably has either a bone bruise, a contusion, or grade 1 LCL sprain. All the reports are saying that he's doubtful to play this week, but likely to play next week if the Ravens are to beat the Steelers. So with that in mind, I wanted to talk about the impact that has on the Ravens offense. We did see Zay Flowers go down in that Bucs game. We also saw Rashod Bateman go down against the Eagles, which hindered at times. Steelers should be pretty much at full strength at this point. Yeah, exactly. D-Banks, two very different situations. I think it was a little more gamesmanship on the Ravens side, and maybe Bateman was a little sore, and they made it out to be something to its fullest extent. But this situation a little bit different. So I wanted to kind of just use this opportunity to talk about Rashod Bateman's opportunity that he has at hand, which is massive, man. Seriously, huge opportunity for him, where in this game, I imagine his role is similar to what we saw it be at the beginning of 2022 prior to that infamous foot injury that set him back for really 2 years. 2022 gets lost for the most part, and 2023 kind of was a year where he was trying to get back to being healthy. And Rashod Bateman finishes this season, a couple different things here. PFF has him as the best separator in the NFL this season, said he separated on 77% of his opportunities to separate, including, what type of coverage is playing, things like that. When you go check out their graphs, you can see his separation grade, all of those good things. Lamar Jackson had the most separation on his targets, who he throws the ball to on average, all of those kinds of things. And Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers, Rashod Bateman, those guys are the 3 reasons why. That's why. Derrick Henry is also the reason why, and Lamar Jackson himself is also the reason why here. So Rashod Bateman finished this regular season with a pretty crazy efficient stat line, 45 receptions for 756 yards, 16.8 a catch, which is pretty high up there in the NFL. Long reception, 59-yard touchdown against the Buccaneers, and has 9 touchdowns on 45 receptions. So he's been crazy good in the red zone. And I kind of just wanted to talk. There's really 3 things that they ask him to do, and I'm going to talk mostly about one of them. They ask him to, in Todd Monken's offense, trying to think of the right words to use. It seems like they know that Mark Andrews is considered the favorite, the primary target, the ball threat, and someone that's a tough matchup, and they meaning defenses. Mark Andrews doesn't really run stop routes anymore. He doesn't really run kind of over the ball routes where you just run over the center and stop and turn around. He doesn't really run those kind of whole sit down routes. Zay Flowers doesn't really either. That is now kind of Rashod Bateman's role in Todd Monken's offense, occupying the middle of the field a lot of times. So there's a bunch of clips that I could have put of that, but I chose not to. So Bateman, the Browns touchdown. That's what it was. That one was a little weird. That was kind of just a blown coverage. But against the Commanders, he just sits down in a soft spot in the middle of the field. So it feels like they use Flowers as eye candy. They know Andrews attracts attention, and Derrick Henry is a threat, and Lamar Jackson's legs, and that's what everybody's worried to death about. First and foremost is Henry and Lamar and the option and, the bevy of offensive run concepts. And Bateman's kind of been both really good at separating, but also I think some of those over the balls, those sit down routes, soft spots and zones, he's kind of been the beneficiary of the system, of the talent around in that regard. And he does a nice job doing it at the same time. He had a really nice one against the Commanders, 2 of them actually, all season long. Against the Chiefs, even in week 1, he sat down early in that game, created a ton of separation, which ties in. The reason he's so good at doing that is because he has some of the craziest e-break. He has the craziest e-break. I think Flowers kind of does too, Lamar in his own way, but as a route runner and a complete route runner, his deceleration, his e-break, his ability to drop his hips and sit down is something that is so cool and so fun to watch. His change of direction and just the efficiency that he has in his feet, his hips, his knees, his toes, everything. It's really encouraging to see him coming off of that Liz Frank injury a couple of years ago. So wanted to pull up some clipperoos here and get into it. A lot of these red zone clips here we're going to get into. This is against the Cowboys. We see him as the number 3 there, and his ability to sit down. So much of it has been in the red zone too, right? To drive. He drives, he attacks the blind spot, and as soon as the defender's hips open, we see Bateman. And I want to go back and maybe go on that one in slow motion a little bit here. Frame by frame. As soon as that defender's momentum starts to carry, his hips are kind of closed, bam. And look at how hard of a break that is. His toes, watch his toes go from, they are completely long stride, that final step there, and look how he bends his knees through his strides. His ability to vary his stride length and put so much, nope, I'm going to knock on wood for him. No wonder his foot blew out. Because look how much pressure and stress he's putting on that foot right there to turn through and he's right upfield. Right upfield. Something he does so well, man, is just sit down. Here's another one. This is just kind of his release package here. But again, it's these variations of movement. It's the ability to be a unique mover. Outside, inside. This move is disgusting for this release. His release package coming out of Minnesota, one of the best. Up close of it. Takes the inside step, the crossover step, attacks upfield so that the DB's hips try to come back neutral. He gets physical. Look at that hand swipe there. And then the defender goes back the other way. He was filthy at basketball in high school. He's a 4-star recruit or a 3-star recruit, I think, out of Georgia. He had Big Ten offers and stuff like that. That's just a crossover, man. Filthy separation. St. Juice has had a rough year this year for the Commanders, but that is hard to cover, especially with that little pick from Isaiah Likely in there, creating traffic, making you feel like you got to go over top of it. Bam, catch and run, gone. So doing it in the short game, in the red zone, and then downfield. And something that was kind of a weird connection, Lamar Jackson and Rashod Bateman kind of on the shot plays here against the Giants. As soon as he gets the blind spot, takes off the other way. As soon as he gets the blind spot. I mean, I'm going to say ridiculous things, sounding out loud, fantasy football wise. This is like Devontae Adams. This is Justin Jefferson like movement. You know, that's what makes them so good. That step right there. Bam. And then the DB turns, and as the DB turns, he's already the other way. And again, this has been St. Juiced, and, you know, nothing. I don't even know who 27 is on the Giants. I can't remember. But just these little nuances of movement. Inside, turns, back outside. And again, varying stride. Digging, attacking upfield, long strides. Digging. And people give Quentin Johnson a lot of shit for putting his head down. I mean, it makes the DB, there's psychology to it in my mind. It makes the DB think he is pushing to clear out. Then brings his eyes up, and this step right here. You can see the toes, but then look how his outside foot, the toe is inside. Then the next step is a long step to continue selling vertical, but his knee and his inside toe are bent back away from the hips of the defender. And that is what allows him to regather neutral and then break cleanly the other way. Wait for the ball. And this one was just fun after the catch. This was so fun. One of the most fun plays of Rashod Bateman's career. Definitely throws the ball up, the confidence. You can just see it in full speed, man. Bam, bam, bam. Smooth. Attacking vertically, attacking the blind spot. That's high IQ route running. And a lot of it in the red zone. Again, 9 touchdowns this year. But this one to me, I think was the most fun. Had some crazy ones against the Bucs, the Chargers, things like that. So then we see him, you know, Zay Flowers goes out in this Browns game, and we see him continue to be able to flatten. Look at the separation he creates there. Look at the toes. Again, it's kind of harder with the black cleats. Gets even. And look at that step right there. Look at that bent knee. Bop. And then the next step out of it. Look at the angle, man. I wish I could zoom in here. Look at the angle of where my cursor is, that toe right there, how flat that toe is. I would fall the fuck down. I know that. Trying to run like that. It is wild, the angles he can create at the stem. Bam, easy, first down. And feeling himself after the catch for sure. And then this is against McCollum on the Bucs, who had a really nice year this year, super athletic. The nuance right there at the very top kind of looks like he's bending that kind of rounded 7, bending that rounded 7 there, right? The DB's eyes are up, and then again, he can just change his plane using his toes, his knees, and his hips to separate. Leaves the DB just grabbing, man. And Lamar just floats it up. Make sure he doesn't overthrow him. And again, he hasn't been the biggest contested catch guy in the world. He's made some really high difficulty catches. You know, the one against the Chiefs, he's had some on the sideline, things like that. But it's just high-level shit to me, man. Seriously. Bending it back right there. He also made sure that he had enough momentum to carry him and still could accelerate through. So the nuance, and we've got some comments here. I don't know. Yep, right there again. Bam. I think that's the last clip I have. Beautiful. All of those things, beautiful. Huge year for Rashod Bateman. Love to watch it. Great point here from D Banks. There's no play action. There was the pick kind of on that kind of diamond release, whatever you want to call it, slant. I don't even know. It's probably not a diamond release, but just feel right. And that's, again, you can just see the guard in him, the wing player driving, you know, using someone's momentum, their hips, the feel that he has. And I hate the word instinctual, because I think that it ignores a lot of the work that people do to get good at what they do. But when you're kind of in high school and you can move like that, I think there really is kind of an innate feel to it. His release is so dynamic. So Bateman, man, someone who's had a volatile career, dealt through injury, you know, been frustrated in the offense at times. You know, we saw flashes. What's he going to be this year? He has a situation with his agent and, you know, trying to rehab, missing camp, having his 5th year option voided. The Ravens give him the contract extension, ends up with 9 touchdowns this season, and has just been reliable for them. Aside from that Browns drop in the first Browns game, I will give him the glass half full. It was sunny as hell there. But really consistent this year. Love what we've seen. And man, with Zay Flowers, I think the more I think about the loss of Zay Flowers and what that means, I think it means that Mark Andrews, and especially against the Steelers, Mark Andrews has his first career touchdown against the Steelers in that game when there's Flowers and Bateman and Henry and Likely and Ricard and Lamar. So I think it enables Pittsburgh to really take Mark Andrews away a lot. I think that's where they like to go. Typically, the Steelers don't really change shit up much. They have ideas. They are firm and steadfast in their belief. I think they try to take Mark Andrews completely out of this game. I think that means that Rashod Bateman is due for, frankly, a monster opportunity. It's this entire domino effect. I think Mark Andrews, because of Zay Flowers being out, it's easier to take him away. I think that it is easier to stick Deshaun Elliott in the fucking box and have him fit aggressively. I think it puts Minka back on the roof because they have Elliott. And to me, you get Joey Porter Jr. or Sutton or whoever the hell's playing corner for the Steelers. They get Bishop in there and some other guys. But I think this is the biggest game by 10 billion trillion of Rashod Bateman's career. And he has been so good. The chemistry in the red zone. We saw the touchdown against the Steelers, the one against the Chargers. The chemistry, the trust is definitely there. Lamar Jackson spoke about that. John Harbaugh spoke about that. They say that it's not just him. There's other guys too. Hopefully the Ravens get Aguilar back. It's a shame that Aguilar and Justice Hill have been out for a little bit here. Sports Guru with a good comment here. That's true. Tylan Wallace doesn't really separate very well, in my opinion. I don't think that fluidity we're looking at from Bateman, the nuance in the toes and things like that, the flexion of the ankle, the flexibility in the lower half and each of the individual ligaments of the lower half. Wallace doesn't have that, but he's tough. He's a tough SOB. He's fast. He's tough. He's strong. I'm trying to think of a receiver that he reminds me of. I don't know. He is dangerous after the catch. He's got some of that returner to him. I don't know. Kind of has a little tiny bit of like Steve Smith toughness in him or something like that. I don't know. Steve Smith comp always gets thrown. Hines Ward, sure. Yeah, if he went full tilt. I don't like the confusion out of Keaton Mitchell and Tylan Wallace that I saw on Saturday from the Browns, especially late in that game. They're who's going in motion, who's doing what, who's this, who's that. There's a couple reasons why that could have happened. Can't quite hear the play call. Both of them don't hear. Someone heard the wrong thing. They were kind of communicating, ends up getting an illegal formation. I think Keaton Mitchell ended up like moving towards the line of scrimmage at the snap, something like that. So, it's big for especially Bateman, but those other guys too. So, I mean, Nelson Aguilar, man, who knows? That's like a wild card. Whenever you throw the ball to Nelson Aguilar, anything can possibly happen. It's like Mario Kart when you get the question mark one and the diamond starts rolling with all the different options. It's like it could be a mushroom. It could be anything. You never know. He could make an incredible catch. He could break a tackle and outrun people 50 yards to the end zone. He could completely not come close to catching the ball. Anything can happen with Nelson Aguilar. That's what makes him exciting and frustrating for fans of the Eagles and Ravens and Raiders over the years. All of those things. So Justin Avery here. I mean, the more I think about it, Justin Avery says, feed the big guy 22. I don't want to see him get only 6 carries. Doesn't matter which game. Yeah. Again, it felt like the signing of Derrick Henry was so clearly a response to the AFC Championship game, right? It felt like they got away from themselves. And Deuce 1042s might be here. There's always a comment, Gus Edwards isn't going to beat the Chiefs. And I do agree with that. But it's keeping the game calm. It's keeping the run game, taking the pressure off of Lamar from play to play. So that's something that John Gruden talks about a lot, and Lamar Jackson himself today said in his media availability, like he needs to keep himself calm. He tries to, he gets anxious. He says he, tries too hard to make plays sometimes in the playoffs. 100%. I just watched the 2020 divisional round against the Titans where the Ravens lost as the 1 seed, and picks that the late pick to Kenny Vaccaro, He stares at it and he tries to just muscle it past Kenny Vaccaro, and he's just sitting on it. So it's, I just always think of Tom Brady, man. I think of the Chiefs and why those teams are so consistently able to advance in the playoffs. And it's just taking what defenses give you, limiting bad plays, taking care of the football. That's straight up all it is. How did the Bengals beat the Chiefs? They took the football away. So, fumbles an aspect that I think are unacceptable, man. And I still think it was unacceptable the second time the Ravens played the Steelers and beat them by 2 scores. Put the ball on the ground 3 times. It's pathetic. I think it's pathetic. After all the emphasis on the syllables that they put, Todd Monken, everyone, they still, Lamar gets strip sacked. That's one thing, but still put the ball on the ground 2 times after that. And it's too much. Special teams, if you get a pick, be aware, man. Take care of that ball. That is how you lose. That's always how they lose. I'm trying to think back. I want to go through as well. I think I saw maybe Tim Barbalace tweet it, that the Ravens in every playoff loss with Lamar have not had a lead at halftime. So let's see. Against the Kansas City Chiefs at halftime, it was 17-10 Chiefs. The Texans game before that, it was tied up, 10-10. The Bengals before that with Tyler Huntley, the Ravens had a lead in that game, actually 10-9. Not Lamar in that one. Let's look at Buffalo Bills in the divisional round. At halftime, it was 3-3. So it's been tied. The Ravens have not had a 3-point lead. They have not had a touchdown lead. The Titans in the wild card before that, it was 10-10. And the 2019 playoffs before that, it was 14-6 Titans. Ravens struggling in the red zone. And even in Lamar's rookie year, it was 12-0 Chargers. So the Ravens have not had a field goal lead at halftime with Lamar in the playoffs. The most they've had is a 1-point lead. So getting ahead early, playing clean early, having a plan in the red zone early, I think is imperative to the nth degree against this Pittsburgh. Against the Bills, do you want to be down? Absolutely not. But the Bills can play from behind. The Chiefs can play from behind. It's not an issue. So it's great. You always want to have a lead at any point in any game, right? But the Steelers can't play from behind, man. They can't put pressure on their pass game. They don't want to put pressure on their tackles. They don't have a talented offense. It can't be 14-6 Steelers at half. It can't be that game. You can't let that get off the rails. How do you prevent that from happening? I think the Steelers play better against the run in this game. I'm going to break it down a little further on Thursday night when we do our full kind of preview. And it's I think of that Isaiah Likely play out of heavy personnel in Pittsburgh the first time. I think that we need to see more creativity, frankly, than we've seen from Todd Monken and really at all in the Lamar Jackson Ravens era in terms of scheming guys open. That Ronnie Stanley play from training camp, where's that? Derrick Henry has thrown what? How many touchdowns has Derrick Henry thrown in his career? I'm my own producer here. Let's go see. Derrick Henry stats. I know we got passing on here somewhere. Rushing and receiving, passing. Derrick Henry has 4 career touchdown passes in the regular season, and of course has 1 against the Baltimore Ravens in the playoffs. Derrick Henry's thrown 5 touchdown passes. Where's that? Give me that in the red zone. Give me that on 1st and goal from the 2 to Charlie Kohler, to Isaiah Likely. Let's see the Dan Skipper come out. The Lions, so creative. Give me 7 offensive linemen on the field. Give me Pat Ricard and Josh Jones in the backfield, or Ben Cleveland in the backfield. I want to see creativity in the red zone in the first half. I think unloading the clip of schemed plays in the first half is necessary here against the Steelers. My thought of the day that I suppose I'll go through the chat here a little bit and just engage everybody. I love the chat. Thank you guys so much for supporting. If you can like and subscribe on YouTube, that's the easiest way to support the podcast. Thank you so much to everyone who gave us tips last night to help send people to the Ravens game. Any tip that you make to this podcast will go to sending folks to this weekend's Ravens Steelers playoff game. If it's $2, it helps. So appreciate you guys. But again, I think it's fully time to unload the clip. The Steelers are reeling. Mike Tomlin's lost what? 5 straight playoff games. It's tough. So the thought that I had, though, I got off track there. The thought that I had was I think that there's some level of control to the NFL. And the outcomes of games. It is a multi-billion dollar business. And I've got here the official for the official for Ravens Steelers is Alex Kemp is the head referee with additions from Torbert, Brad Rogers, and Novak Cruz. Alex Kemp ranks number 1 in multiple categories: offensive holding, defensive holding, face masks, and also number 3 in roughing the passer. 63% of Kemp's false starts and offensive holding penalties have been assessed on the road, which is the largest discrepancy of any crew of 2024. The Ravens offense, this is all from NFL Ref Stats, at NFL Ref Stats 1 on Twitter. The Ravens offense, of course, Ravens fans know this, have struggled with offensive holding. 68% of their holdings have occurred on the road. Offensive holding gets called at a lower rate typically in the NFL playoffs. The Ravens also are tied for first in roughing the passer, and the Pittsburgh Steelers offense is the number 1 beneficiary of rushing the passer calls. Favorites are an NFL best 15-1 straight up, 12-3-1 against the spread in 2024 with Alex Kemp's crew. The Ravens' last game with Kemp was the Bucs win 41-31 on Monday Night Football against the Bucs. The Ravens are 4-1 all time with Kemp. The only loss was a 2020 regular season game with no crowds at M&T Bank Stadium. In home playoff games, teams are 3-1 straight up, 2-2 against the spread, and have been favored by an average of 8.5 points in those games. This person puts in their own kind of take on the game. They've been fading the Steelers. He says the Steelers resemble the Walking Dead, and that he's very bullish on the Ravens. I say all of that because I just think about it, and my conspiracy brain, which if you've been listening to this podcast, you know I always have my tinfoil hat takes. How does the NFL not want Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson playing in the divisional round? How is that just not almost pushed forward? I think the Ravens win this game. I think it's because they're a better team. I think it's also that the NFL, I mean, the MVP conversations, man, it's right there. It's literally right there for the NFL to get Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen in the MVP battle. The biggest MVP battle in a few years, really, the divisional round. And then the winner of that, in all likelihood, plays your Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship. So you're going to get Allen or Jackson against Mahomes. So to me, like, I don't see how the Ravens possibly, no one wants to, no, there's any control over refs, over this multi-billion-dollar entity. I do believe they want the Ravens to beat the Steelers. No one wants to watch Steelers Chiefs again after the Chiefs just beat the shit out of them on Christmas, or Steelers Bills. I don't think anyone wants that. So 5 years ago, sure. 10 years ago, sure. Jake mentioned yesterday, he's like, the Ravens have kind of flip-flopped with the Steelers. The Ravens are kind of the starlet, the winning franchise now, and the Steelers are kind of in this, weird mediocrity. And I think of the Steelers team too. It reminds me of where the Ravens were in the post Ed and Ray era, where it was Harbaugh. It's a good coach. Ravens had the 1 year of 5-11, which Tomlin's never had. But other than that, it was, 8-8, 9-7, making the playoffs here and there. It was, scrapping to be good. They could always beat the bad teams, lose a couple they're not supposed to, beat, 1 or 2 teams that maybe you don't think they can, and fighting for the playoffs. And that is your 2020 era Pittsburgh Steelers in the 2020s. So there we go. I don't want to skip this game. I don't, the Steelers are desperate, man. They are absolutely desperate. I think they're going to pull out all the stops, but it's just, what are the stops now? Their offense has been so conservative. I think back to one of the Ravens defensive assistants on Hard Knocks saying, Russell Wilson, all 3-pointers and, layups. He doesn't throw over the middle of the field. The Ravens are good on the perimeter. They've dealt with George Pickens effectively, at times. At times they've struggled, but it's like Jaylen Warren was very explosive last game they played. The Steelers really seem to like that matchup against the Ravens in particular. So I'm curious about that one. It is going to be pretty cold. It is going to be pretty windy, kicking, turnovers, all of those things come into play. So again, I'll say it again. I'm probably going to say it all 5 days this week. John Harbaugh, before that Steelers game, walking around to DaCosta, to Lamar, to Marlon Humphrey, maybe, he kept saying, hey, whatever happens, happens. I'm all high fives and smiles. He was just calming the team down. Play a calm game. Calm. You don't need to pressurize yourself into this breaking point of chaos that they have in the playoffs. You don't need to throw Lamar into triple coverage. I don't blame him that much for that throw. Whatever. Likely he's made crazy plays and people thought it was PI, this, that, and the other. But the playoffs, penalties should be called less. Matters more postseason. Teams earned a right to be there and get a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. So that's my 2 cents for tonight. Can't talk tonight. Optimistic Avocado says we need a full conspiracy show in the offseason. I have many, man. Don't get me started on Barry Bonds. Puts pressure on PQ to communicate. Yep. Patrick Queen struggling to get the defense set. That was all that was kind of Mike Tomlin talking Patrick Queen, quarterback my defense. It doesn't seem like a lot of love there. I know he says, I think he tries to give him a vote of confidence, but it doesn't seem like a lot of love, which you guys know how I feel about Patrick Queen. So sucks, man. Sucks. And frankly, pulling the curtain all the way back at this point, I'm probably never going to talk to him again. He doesn't care about me. I interviewed him a couple times, but sounded like Patrick Queen and his camp thought he should get somewhere in the neighborhood of $20 million a year. I think like in 2022 or 2023 early, that's they were like, hey, we want to be towards the top of the market. And I think that caused the Ravens just go, nope, we're going to have a contingency plan. I do think, I thought Patrick Queen would get something like Logan Wilson money plus some $60 million contract, something like that. He didn't end up getting it. So it's a shame. I thought he found a really nice role here aside Roquan Smith. And typically what happens, right, when you have two good linebackers, usually over the course of time, Navarro Bowman, I think, and Willis were both paid. Kuechly and Thomas Davis. The Ravens had Jamie Sharper and Ray Lewis, who are some other great duos. Warner and Greenlaw. What is Greenlaw's salary? Let me see that. Trey Greenlaw salary. Let's check that one out. 2-year, $16 million extension. So, it's pretty rare for two guys to get paid. And I didn't really think about that at the time. It's just not super common. So, man, with that, I'm going to end this bad boy. Thank you to everyone for hopping on. Thank you to the 850 folks that hopped on to join me. Night 2, again, free playoff tickets, offering 2 of them. Subscribe to the podcast on this channel on YouTube. Tweet a video of why you think the Ravens will beat the Steelers. Can be funny, can be serious, can be favorite Ravens Steelers memory would be great too. It can be anything like that. Just send a video in and make sure to tweet it using the hashtag E52 giveaway. Thank you so much, folks, for tuning in as always. Appreciate you guys. Follow the show at Exit 52 podcast. What is it? What is our? I don't know. Jake, this is why Jake always does this. I don't remember. I don't heard him say it. At Exit 52 podcast. You can find Jake at Jake Luke. That's LOUQUE. You can find me at Ravens for Dummies. That's the number 4 on Twitter. You can find the rest of the crew on your screen right here. You can find at Barstool Banks for Brian. You can find Taylor Smythe at Taylor Smythe 10, and you can get all of your Orioles and Titans coverage and surviving Barstool coverage, all that stuff from Mr. RDT at EDITTI22. For Jake, I'll say it as well in my station. So I'll say see ya and arrivederci.